when you look at pyramids, you see them all over the world. People usually associate pyramids with Egypt, but actually they're found all over the world. Now, those pyramids in Egypt were definitely manipulated, and then in many other places they were manipulated. But it's my belief that the pyramids were actually a natural function of the earth. In other words, there was a creature designed to make land, to make the foundations of land. Now, this creature wasn't stone, it was flesh. It lived in the ocean, it lived on the bottom of the sea, it would come up to breathe. But it had all these pillars and things on its back all the way down, and a flat tail. All those things had oil in them and were not heavy like they are. What made them stone was at their death they coiled in a pyramid shape, often, not always. You find them sometimes in a straight line. The dragon of Kunlun Mountain, for example, you see those vertebrae going straight. You look at Mount Rushmore before it was carved, you can see the vertebrae going across, and perhaps that's the head, or was the head, on the upper left hand side. But there are many I hate to use word formations, because tends to indicate that it was a process of a gradual process which involved millions of years, and that's not what happened. What happened was it was instantaneous. The creature died, coiled in a pyramid shape. The fluorine comes up, pulls all the oil out, turns everything into stone. Depending on the density of the stone, density of fluorine rather, coming up. Just that process of that fluorine is not fully understood yet, by me anyway. So the creature would coil into a pyramid shape, sometimes in a square, but often in a pyramid shape, and then it would turn to stone, and all those parts turn to stone, and those nubs that you find on those blocks, that was the effect of fluorine pulling out the oil as it turned to stone. Obviously, they were not carved. They served no purpose. Those blocks could not be lifted in that way. If you wanted to lift something, you lift it from the center, or you have a balanced load by coming off 4 or at least 3 points above the center line of the block. So you got a block and you got a center line going through it. Well, that rope or those fastening points would have to be above the center line. Otherwise it would flip over. There's no way to control it. So just engineering wise, it's impossible to use those nubs, as they call them, as lifting points. To me, it's obvious that it was fluorine pulling out, especially when you compare all those nubs. You realize there's no way they could be used for any sort of lifting device. They can't lift those blocks anyway. There's no way they could lift them with humans don't have the ability to lift that much weight. You'd have to have some pretty intense cranes, multiple cranes. Obviously didn't have those back then in Egypt or at any other time in history, except for today. But so anyway, the fluorine pulled out the oil, turned everything to stone. hardened everything, and this was instantaneous, almost instantaneous. The white hair that you pull those blocks apart, each one has white hair in between them. They say, well, that's got to be, actually they never said white hair. I'm just saying white hair because I know it's white hair, because I've pulled blocks apart and have many examples of stone with white hair on them, so I know it's white hair. And also it matches the description of the creature in Job 41 called Leviathan, which is said to have white hair. In fact, it said that the whole bottom of the sea it's like the whole bottom of the sea was covered with white hair. There's so many of them. So anyway, so the fluorine pulls out the oil, hardens everything. People manipulated those pyramids afterward, made them took advantage of the mechanics of them for different purposes. Evidently not for tombs. They put in some tombs, they put bodies, but evidently the main ones, the perfect ones, they're not tombs. They tried to make pyramids after that, and you look at the pyramids, they fall apart, which shows that the technology wasn't there. And but in actuality, they just stole, in some cases, stole blocks from other pyramids, and in other cases, they just manipulated the pyramids that were already there. So anyway, so the evidently this creature its purpose was to make land, and that is my conclusion. And no, everybody says, in the scientific world, many will laugh at that, and I've experienced it, but nevertheless, that's what it appears to be. And as the information gets out there, more and more people will come to that conclusion, I'm sure. All the oil was pulled out, and the oil is where we find it today, as well as gas and all the other stuff associated with oil. So anyway, these creatures had a wonderful purpose, and we benefit from that, because here in Florida, for example, all of Florida underneath was body parts, the aftermath of the flood. So all these body parts were then turned to stone by all this movement, and also the springs busting open, volcanic activity. There's several things going on during the flood. A lot of the stinkstein was crushed, what was left, and then all that rose to the surface, turning everything to stone as we find it today, or not just stone, but various materials. Anything really on the periodic table of elements, fluorine will react to almost instantaneously, especially something with oil in it. The process is faster. The end result is that the material with oil in it is denser and harder. We take advantage of that and crush this material and use those little stones, those hardened stones, into asphalt and stone mixes. So we benefit from that. But we should also give credit to the one who designed it. Don't you agree?